Thank you, Mr. Prime. That was really prime example of you, sir. Alright, a little bit of a recap to that motorcycle. Trucker helps motorcyclists. I noticed that motorcycle right about here. The traffic wasn't as slow as this. It was moving a little faster. But it was stop and go, and right about somewhere in this area, we keep passing each other. She would stop, my lane would go, my lane would stop, her lane would go, and so on and so forth. That happened about, I don't know, 5 times. And as soon as we got to that, and then finally she changed lane, got into my lane, but there were about 10 cars in front of me, between me and her, and each one by one they slowly got around, and they kept going, and finally I came up behind her, and I was kind of curious myself. As a motorcyclist myself, you know, it got my attention, and so I waited and waited until give her a chance to maybe start it. And I don't know, maybe I was also thinking that a small motorcycle like that usually has a reserve switch. I was trying to give her a chance to turn that on and hopefully get her motorcycle going again. But nope, no matter what she did, she finally just kind of like, oh dear, now what? And I don't know, I just had the irresistible urge to change lane. I mean, I couldn't stay there all day long. I had to change lane anyway, so that's when I told her to just kind of follow me at all to the side. Quite honestly, that video is it's a lot better than the actual thing. Videos do lie. Can you imagine if that video, well, it wouldn't have gone viral if people didn't share it. But I wish people didn't steal it and post it as their own. I'm curious to how many views that would have been. That would have been pretty cool, right? I think it was like 5 million views on Good Morning America. Who knows how many views that thing had in Facebook. You know what? Right now I have this irresistible urge to honk Baby Blue's horn. But there's just way too many four-wheelers around here. what I miss? Come to think of it, I don't know. It just hit me right now. I really miss. Remember back in the 70s, which most of you were probably weren't born yet. Man, that makes me old. But back in the 70s, late 70s, there was a Shakey's restaurant, Shakey's Pizza restaurant. They had this unique hats and uniforms, and I think they were big in California. I think there are still maybe a few Shakey's out there in California, but they were called Shakey's Pizza Parlor or something like that. And it's not. They were a restaurant. They did not. It wasn't just a to-go like Domino's or. Well, think of it as a Pizza Hut, Wing Street kind of a thing, except it's bigger, more of a dining atmosphere rather than a fast food restaurant. But the biggest thing that they did back then was they had a live band, and they served beer. They served beer back then, and I remember, I don't know, I must have been 4, maybe 5, 6 years old when I walked into Shakey's. Now, remember back when I was at that age, I was living in the island, and living in the island was as primitive and as backwards, 100 years behind the cities, with no electricities, no running waters, and except of course in my house, having an American father had, he had his own electricity generators and running water and indoor plumbing. But once in a while we would take the bus, and somewhere near about 5-6 hour of a drive, and go to the big island of Mindanao and the big city of Cagayan de Oro City, and where it was it was modern. It wasn't anywhere near American standard, of course not. But they had electricity, of course. They had ice cream, movie theaters, and they played American movies. And one of the things that they did back then was they had a double feature. The movie theater opened every day at 1 o'clock until about 11. Well, yeah, you went in at 1 o'clock, and then you got done by 4, and then you would hurry up to the next movie theater and watch another movie, a double feature. So I think you could have watched like 6 movies in a day. But anyway, back to the Shakey's restaurant. Now here I am back in the island, from the island, growing up as a village, one of the villagers, or the barrio we call it. So every time we go to the big cities, we would have to change clothes and wear shoes, and it was almost like putting on the Sunday attire. And we would go around the city looking like $1,000,000. Little did they know, Island Boy didn't know what an ice cream was to. But again, back to the point of the Shakey's. We would go into the first time I went to the Shakey's, and I didn't know what a pizza was. And so my dad, being a German descent American, he was very proud of his German heritage, even though he was born in Sheboygan. He was very, very proud of being German. And why is that important? Well, because he was very proud of drinking beer. So guess what? Not only I got to taste what a pizza tasted like, I also got to drink beer at 5, 6 years old. And my dad was so proud of serving beer to his family. But one thing that really stood out back then was the anchovies. They served anchovies on the pizza, which I never really cared for. I mean, I could eat the Philippine style anchovies in a different manner the way we would eat it, but not on a pizza, man. And again, I got to eat pizza, I got to drink beer, and one of the most important thing, what I'm trying to point out, was they had live music. And it was a family atmosphere, family restaurant. And it was great. It was everybody had a great time. It was kind of like a family bonding moment. It was. The reason I bring that up is it just dawned on me, is there a place that nowadays that a family can go with live music and bring your family? I don't know. I think that's somewhat of a lost trade or a lost art. I was just thinking of bringing AJ and Jackie and Mama to, I guess the best place that you could go to is probably like a jazz bar or something. I don't know. But I wonder also if Jackie and AJ would enjoy such atmosphere, since they certainly have a different taste of music. I don't think that, I guess there's so big of a gap now between my generation and their generation. I think I can honestly say that my generation, as far as music goes, it wasn't that big of a gap between me and my parents. My parents and I would listen to about the same thing. Well, for one thing, back in the island, we only had 1 or 2 radio stations we listened to. I mean, that was the only thing available, and it was mostly on AM. As my wife, she used to say, she didn't even learn about an FM station until she was in high school. So yeah, the limited choice of radio stations, I guess, made the children and the parents not a little bit more. What would be the word I'm looking for? Not big of a gap, I guess. I don't know what the word is I'm looking for, but yeah. But now with the availability of social media, just hundreds, if not thousands, of avenues that they can listen to. I think parents and kids are a little bit harder to relate to each other. So yeah, I don't know. Certainly is a worth event trying, I suppose. What was the name of that movie with Tim Allen, where he learned that he had a son in Africa that was he had to go, and I guess he wanted a divorce paper and he wanted his wife to sign something, and his son's character name was Mimisiko or something like that. I can't remember the name of that movie, but I so relate with that movie. I mean, I kind of looked like that back then, all white, all blonde hair, and I remember that part where the flight attendant approached him and said, "Sir, your son is urinating on the exit door." Well, back in the island, we pretty much urinated just about everywhere. The only place we didn't swing it is against the wind. Yeah, you didn't want to face the wind. But everywhere else, yep. And I tell you, that just, that movie is so close to my heart. It's just the way they portrayed that kid being in America, and it was so ignorant about the things in the big cities. That's exactly how I was. What do you mean I was? You still are. Well, looks like we're going overtime here. Holy smokies, Johnny, be good. Oh, you should have seen me the first time I I flown an airplane. If it was only possible for me to stick my head out the window so I could see everything. Yeah, overall, I really had a very fond memories and fond childhood. I would go home to a modern house with all the electricities, everything, and I would go down to the barrio and play with the local kids, talk like them, played like them. So I got to enjoy both worlds. And everybody in that barrio was just, I don't know, they were so accommodating to me, my brother, and my mom. And almost everybody worked for my dad and my mom, so well, anyway, once again you have listened to 23 minutes of my nonsense. I would offer to you my apology, but I know that's not gonna work, so anyway, we'll catch you guys later. Once again, thank you for watching and your continued support. Once again, my family and I are grateful. Have a good and godly day, everybody.